Welcome back, everyone, to the Mid Podcast. Today's podcast, we're titling it Fire, Blood, and Questionable Decision Making. So, grab your favorite beverage, avoid making any marriage alliances with your cousins for the next 45 minutes, and let's talk about House of the Dragon, specifically Season 3, Episode 3. A chapter that reminds us that winning a throne and keeping a throne, yeah, they're two completely different jobs. If you've ever accepted a promotion at work only to discover that nobody trained you and everyone secretly hopes you fail, congratulations! You now understand what ruling Westeros feels like for Rhaenyra. Today's discussion isn't about walking through every scene. Instead, we're looking at what this episode says about leadership, ambition, loyalty, family, and why the Targaryens continue proving that dragons are somehow the least dangerous thing in their kingdom. So, let's get this party started. All right. Heavy is the Crown. Great song by Linkin Park. I suggest you go check it out. And apparently miserable. One of the biggest strengths of this episode is its understanding that power isn't glamorous. Fantasy stories often spend years building towards someone sitting on the throne. Then what? That's the interesting question. Well, season 3 has shifted from who deserves to rule toward can anyone actually rule? The throne isn't a reward. It's more like a burden. Every decision creates 3 new enemies. Every victory creates 2 more problems. The episode captures that beautifully. Instead of portraying leadership as triumphant, it presents it as being exhausting. Nobody looks happy, nobody looks rested, and everyone looks like they've slept approximately, 19 minutes over the past month. Honestly, Westeros needs therapists more than dragons. Well, the difference between a claimant and a queen. So we're going to start with Rhaenyra. Emmy Darcy continues delivering one of the most layered performances on television. Early in the series, Rhaenyra fought for recognition. Now she's discovering that recognition isn't enough. Leadership means making impossible choices while pretending they're obvious. That's a fascinating evolution? Huh. The younger version of Rhaenyra believed justice alone would solve problems. The older Rhaenyra realizes justice and practicality don't always shake hands. She's beginning to understand something every historical ruler eventually learned. You cannot satisfy everyone. If the nobles are happy, the common people are not. If the common people are happy, the military gets nervous. If the military is happy, your treasury cries itself to sleep. That's politics. One thing I particularly appreciated is that the show allows Rhaenyra to struggle without making her incompetent. That's a difference. A weak ruler avoids decisions. A strong ruler makes decisions knowing they'll be criticized anyway. That's real, true leadership. Can we pass some of that along to current leadership? Alrighty. Let's talk about the world's most dangerous problem solver. That being one Daemon Targaryen. Okay, big Matt Smith fan. Loved him in Doctor Who. But for some reason, in House of the Dragon, he's really sexy. Wasn't finding him all sexy in Doctor Who, though. Maybe it's the way he swings his sword. So, every meeting follows the exact same pattern with Daemon. Someone says, we should consider diplomacy. Daemon immediately responds, have you considered a dragon? His conflict isn't that he's unintelligent, quite the opposite. He's decisive, he's fearless, he's incredibly effective, but his problem is believing every obstacle has only one solution. That solution being maximum violence. If Damon managed a grocery store, a customer would come in and say, "My coupon expired." Damon, burn the neighboring supermarket. Problem solved. He's charismatic because certainty, well, it is attractive. People naturally gravitate toward confident leaders. But history teaches us that confidence and wisdom are not always roommates. While Damon represents action, Rhaenyra represents restraint. The tension between those philosophies makes this season incredibly compelling. All right, let's talk about Alicent. Alicent is living with yesterday's decisions, and she remains one of television's most tragic characters. She's no longer simply fighting for power, she is living with the consequences of obtaining power. That's an enormous difference. One of the show's greatest achievements is refusing to create cartoon villains. Everyone believes they're protecting something: family, tradition, legacy, peace. Unfortunately, protecting one thing, it often destroys another. Alicent embodies that contradiction. You can disagree with her, you can criticize her, but understanding her, that is way, way much harder. A good drama asks audience to empathize without necessarily agreeing. This series continues succeeding at that. Okay, I kinda get where Alicent's coming from. She wanted power, she wanted her sons to have power. So I understand why she did what she did. And now I kind of feel sorry for her because now she's like, oh shit, I really fucked this up. Well, let's talk about the adult in the room, that being Corlys Valerian. Well, can we all appreciate him? Every episode, he seems to walk into rooms thinking, I cannot believe these people are still arguing. He's experienced enough to understand that wars don't end when someone wins one battle. Wars end when people stop believing they can still win. That's wisdom earned through experience. He often serves as the bridge between ambition and reality. Every council needs someone asking the practical questions. Who's paying for this? Who's feeding everyone? What's the long-term plan? Fantasy often ignores logistics. This show embraces them. That makes victories feel earned instead of magical. The dragons aren't the real story, and this is going to be my hot take for today. While the dragons are incredible, the visual effects are spectacular, but dragons aren't why this show works. The people are. If dragons disappeared tomorrow, the politics would still be fascinating. The dragons simply amplify human decisions. They're nuclear weapons controlled by emotional family members. Nothing about that sounds safe. History repeatedly shows us that technological superiority doesn't eliminate political mistakes, it only magnifies them. That's exactly what the dragons accomplish. So, let's talk about some themes in this episode and the ones that stood out. We have leadership versus popularity. This episode reminds us that good leadership isn't a popularity contest. Sometimes the correct decision makes everyone angry. That's true in governments, business, sports, just life in general. Legacy. Everyone wants history to remember them kindly. Ironically, that desire often creates the very disasters history remembers. Legacy, it becomes its own trap. Then you have fear. Fear motivates nearly every major player. Fear of losing power, the fear of betrayal, the fear of irrelevance. Fear doesn't always produce irrational decisions, but it almost always produces rushed decisions. All right, can we establish a few official Westeros workplace policies. Rule number 1. Stop having family meetings next to dragons. Rule number 2. If Daemon says he has an idea, run. Rule number 3. Nobody should ever say, this plan cannot possibly fail. Congratulations! You have just guaranteed a disaster. Also, the small council deserves overtime pay. Every meeting ends with someone threatening somebody. Human resources would resign immediately. Now let's talk about the production quality. Again, the cinematography continues looking cinematic rather than merely expensive. The lighting creates tension without relying entirely on spectacle. The costume design deserves enormous praise. Every costume communicates status, personality, and political identity. The score never overwhelms the scenes. Instead, it quietly builds emotional pressure. That's restraint. Television often mistakes volume for emotion. This show understands the silence. We're going to do something different today, and I'm going to do character power rankings. And we're going to go 5 through 1. So, top 5. Coming in at number 5, Corlys. He's steady, experienced, very underrated. Number 4, Alicent. Still influencing events through intelligence rather than force. Number 3, Daemon. Dangerous, effective, terrifying. Number 2, Rhaenyra. Growing into leadership even when leadership hurts. And number 1, that is you, the audience, because somehow we're surviving another season of Targaryen family counseling. So, what could be better in the episode? As we know, no episode is perfect. At times, conversations can feel deliberately slow. Well, they do that intentionally. Political dramas need room to breathe. But viewers expecting constant dragon battles might become impatient. Personally, I don't mind slower episodes if they're building meaningful conflict. Action without emotional investment, that's just noise. Character development gives future battles major significance. So, without spoiling future episodes, here's what I'm predicting. First, we're going to see some political fractures inside both factions and will become just as dangerous as external enemies. Secondly, personal loyalty will continue outweighing official titles. Third, every major victory will come attached to an enormous cost. And finally, I think the emotional consequences, not simply military victories, will define this season. And that is where House of the Dragon excels. It isn't asking who wins, it's asking what kind of person survives becoming the winner. Those are completely different questions. So, Season 3, Episode 3, it doesn't rely on constant spectacle. Instead, it deepens the characters and reminds viewers that governing is harder than conquering. Its greatest strength is patience. Its greatest weapon remains its dialogue. Its greatest achievement is making political conversations feel just as intense as dragon battles. Overall, I will give this episode A-. Not because it's flawless, because it trusts its audience. It assumes viewers are interested in people as much as explosions and warfare. And that's increasingly rare for television. Those are my thoughts, but now I want yours. Who's playing the smartest political game? Who's making the biggest mistakes? Can Rhaenyra balance compassion with authority? Is Daemon a necessary weapon or the greatest threat to his own side? Leave your comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating, and share the show with your fellow dragon enthusiasts. So, until next time, remember, in Westeros, family dinners are optional. Civil Wars? Apparently not. So, thanks for listening, and I will see you next week after episode 4.